Look at you. Who? What's up? I'm right here looking at chat. I'm here, nigga. I'm here. Nah, I'm playing. What's up? I sure. What's up? What's up? What the world? Oh shit. So appreciate it, man. Subscribe to you. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it again. Oh, yeah, me too. Appreciate it, bro. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family, y'all. Hold up, hold up. Hold on, chat. I know it's dark. I know it's dark. Chill, chill, chill. Are we good? We comfortable now? Hold on. Let's go. Give me funny look. Give me real fast. Come on up here, man. Come on. What, you ready? I'm ready. You don't get. Well, if you don't get your goddamn. What the hell? Okay. Well, if you don't get. DC, you ready? I'm ready. Cujo, you ready? I'm here. What the hell? What the hell? Okay. Well, if you don't get your goddamn Bobby Brown looking every little step I take ass. Every little step. Okay. Well, if you don't get your goddamn Bobby Brown looking every little step I take ass. Okay. Well, if you don't get your goddamn Bobby Brown looking every little step I take ass. Boy, if you don't get your goddamn who made the potato salad, nigga. If you don't get your Jim Clip looking ass out of here, boy. But wait a minute, hold up. Boy, you acting like a valet driver. Let me go get your car. So Jim Clip, nigga. Boy, if you don't get your goddamn who made the potato salad, nigga. you don't get your gym clip looking ass out of here, boy. But wait a minute, hold up. But you acting like a valet driver. Let me go get your car. Boy, if you don't get your guy. It's the worst area of the city. This is where drugs and crackheads be at.
You gotta have a strong mindset to be out here. You gotta be ready. So many crackheads, fentanyl users.
This is not a tourist place.
Yeah, you don't want to be.
No. That's not a wish, bro. That's a painting.
It's not a tourist area.
It's very sad.
Yeah, it's really scary out here.
You see a lot of overdoses, just doing the drugs openly.
Shootouts, fights, stabbing.
One crazy thing you seen?
Well, actually, there was a call for a shooting just now.
Look at you.
Be careful out here.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Why do so many people do drugs here?
It's a lifestyle. If you go up to the wrong crowd and the wrong people, they are liable to take your camera or hurt you guys.
I put this camera up.
You want to act sick, but you wanted this. You want to film what?
You talking crazy? Don't.
You came over here talking crazy, nigga.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy. Oh my God, it's Young Mooch, man. I'm back with another video. I'm back with another documentary. Yeah, currently I'm in San Francisco right now. And basically, we're going to be going inside the drug crisis in San Francisco.
It is a problem with no solution in sight. People dying daily.
It's wiped out a whole generation.
A whole community living amongst scenes like these.
We've seen these impacts get more and more severe.
A lot of homeless people are on drugs and they're just stuck. Like, it's a very big drug crisis down here, especially on the streets of San Francisco. It's kind of crazy.
You shouldn't really be doing drugs. So
Can you
I've had people.
something?
I've even been
And it's just.
doing it.
Do you know any active streets we could go check that out at?
Honestly, just walk up and down Tenderloin.
Right here.
Yeah, like walk
Thank
up
you
and
so
down here.
much. Thank you. Holy. They said it's like drinking water. Homeless.
Man, chill, bro. No, I'm not, bro. You look like a fat guy, bro.
In the meantime, there is hope that the beef settles down. Let me explain. After collecting the necessary evidence, phone
That man sounds like the type of nigga, man. Get up out of here. Thanks, bro. Bro, what?
which stands for Kill Them All. Basically, KTA would be everyone from Hilltop and surrounding areas who mess with Fulio. So now the beef is officially on. KTA versus ATK. Jacksonville is divided. But in the meantime, there is hope that the beef settles down. Let me explain. After collecting the necessary evidence, phone records, and witness testimony, Trey Shorty is arrested for the murder of Zion Brown. So in theory, because the man who's responsible for kicking off the beef is now arrested, the beef could possibly end. But when you're dealing with a maniac like Fulio, you still want revenge in a major way. And that takes us to June 5th, 2018. It's a major day for Ace and his family as his younger brother Quan just graduated high school and it's his friend 2-3's birthday. So of course it's celebration time and Ace wants to do something for his boys. However, because of the existing beef, being out and about in Jacksonville is not a smart idea. And because of this, both the graduate and the birthday boy do not want to go out. It's just too dangerous. But for whatever reason, Ace is not scared of Fulio and his goons and he tells his boys, let's go out. Pretty much everyone except Ace is hesitant to go out, but because he's the big dog, his word goes. So now the plan is to hit the mall so Ace can get them fresh, and then for family to gather around for dinner after. At 6 o'clock, Ace, Quan, 2-3, and a friend named 4 hit the mall. The particular mall is located all the way on the eastern end of Jacksonville, so they're really not worried about seeing ops. Realistically, if they're in and out quick and move low-key, they'll be completely fine. But the problem is that they do the complete opposite. Not only are they loud and take their time, but they also go on Instagram Live clearly showing their location. They're simply enjoying the moment, and because they're going to meet their family at the restaurant at 7, they're really not too worried. So at 7 o'clock, the 4 boys gather with their family at the Wasabi Steakhouse just minutes from the mall. The dinner goes amazing as Quan and 2-3 are surprised with gifts and a whole lot of affection. Then the dinner finishes at 8:30 and they all empty out into the parking lot. Here, they're all tipsy, gathered around, and having the time of their lives. But little do they know, the rivals saw the previous Instagram Live at the mall, and they're on their way to hunt them. Everyone is oblivious except for Quan, who for whatever reason has an intuition that they need to leave. So he approaches Ace and tells him that he thinks they should leave, but Ace blows him off and tells him to simply relax. Time is ticking before the rivals arrive in the area, and coincidentally, 2-3 now wants to leave as well. He tells Ace that he wants to leave to go link with the girl, but Ace tells him to relax and that can wait till later. At this point, it's almost 9 o'clock, and the birthday boy and the graduate both want to leave. What are we still doing in this parking lot? It's time to leave. You need to leave! Well, shortly after 9 o'clock, Ace finally concedes and they all hop in the car and take off. But right as they're leaving, the rivals arrive in the area. 2-3 is driving, Ace is in the passenger seat, and Quan and 4 are in the back. At this point, they're all in good spirits. 2-3 is about to go link with the girl, Ace is happy the night went smoothly, Quan is relieved that nothing happened, and 4, he's probably just happy too. Well, as they leave the mall, they end up at a red light right down the street. While they're sitting at the light, not paying attention, a car full of KTA members pulls alongside them. Then out of nowhere, all they hear is an absolute barrage of fire hits the car. Everyone ducks down and Ace yells at 2-3 to drive away, but they're not accelerating and there's no response from 2-3, so Ace simply hops out of the car. When the shots finally stop and the rivals screech away, Ace crawls back to the car to check on his friends. The car is completely riddled, and once he looks inside, he simply drops to his knees. Sadly, Quan, 2-3, and 4 Then when Ace is on the ground grieving, he realizes that he's hit too. An ambulance quickly arrives and thankfully Ace survives. When he finally wakes up, he thinks that it had to be a nightmare. There's no way that just happened. But sadly, this is him with the greatest news.
We continue to follow local breaking news from the south side. The search is on for a killer. 3 people shot and killed, another wounded critically in an apparent shooting on the south side near the UNF campus and St. John's Town Center. People are telling us that they're shocked that something like this happened in that area, an area not known for this type of crime. The way this all came down is apparently one car is sitting there, another car drives up beside it, and somebody in that second vehicle opens fire to the 4 who were sitting in the adjacent car. 3 people died right there at the scene.
Your brother passed on his birthday, and his 2 friends passed as well. Ace is absolutely crushed beyond comprehension. You couldn't imagine such a bad outcome, especially on such a joyous day. The next morning, Ace posted he tried to cover up 2 bereavements and he simply saw. And he also thanks God that he's still alive. Dev said.
I supposed to be able to save all of them. I supposed to went with them.
Sandy.
Why? They've been around me my whole life. They didn't fuck me. Feel me? I was the oldest in the car. You know, like all that. I gotta deal with their mamas. Like, I been calling, checking up on them, see how they doing. That ain't enough. Their mama asked me why. I don't know why. My mama asked me why they took my son from me. I don't know why. You feel what I'm saying? My mama asked me every day why. I don't got no answers for her. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why. I'm lost. I feel like it's my fault. I always feel like that. I'm gonna forever feel like that. Everybody say don't feel like that, but you don't know how that feels. Like, it's like everybody on your watch, like they right here with you. How could you let this happen? You know what I'm saying? Like I supposed to be on my pivot. How could I slip? You know what I'm saying? How could I slip? You know what I'm saying? Why I wasn't on point?
Not only does he start to blame himself, but from here the situation would only get worse for the young rapper. Because of the severity of the incident, it was constantly all over the local news. And given that Young and Ace is a popular rapper and the lone survivor, his picture was all over the broadcast. As most people feel terrible for him in this situation, one particular person has other intentions. And surprisingly, this time it's not Fulio. Instead, it's the owner of a local gun store who automatically recognizes Ace's picture. He sees on the news that Ace is a convicted felon, and he realizes that he entered his store, which is actually a federal crime. So while Ace is in the hospital recovering and grieving, a man is out there trying to get him arrested. So just days later, police arrived to the hospital and put Ace in handcuffs. Not only did he lose his brother and 2 friends, but now he's facing a felony. Possibly the worst week he could ever have imagined. That was just a crazy story, but now we circle back to the man of the hour. The obvious question now is Fulio responsible? But come on, we all know the answer. But to make matters even worse, Fulio has zero sympathy for Ace and his family. You took my cousin Zion, so I took your brother and 2 friends. So the now locally famous Fulio decides to take his trolling to the next level of disrespect. He decides to make a Rest in Piss 23 shirt and post it on Instagram.
You wore a T-shirt that said "Rest in Piss 23."
Yeah.
With a picture of him on the shirt.
Yeah. But Fulio is such a crash out that he simply doesn't care. In fact, he even takes it to the next level. Shortly after the tragic incident, he releases a song called F That, where he says, "Oh, you a demon? Well, I turned your whole team into angel dust." He also snitches on his friend by saying, "Could have killed the rapper, but Lil Ron f***ed up the drill." Fulio obviously doesn't care about consequences, and he's basically owning up to the incident. And the craziest part is that in the song, he gives up his mom's address, basically saying, "Come do something, I bet you won't. I bet you won't. I bet you won't." Hey, y'all know that song. The point is that Fulio is a next level demon. He doesn't seem to care about his life, consequences, or anything that happens to his rivals. So after eliminating 3 aces, he's starting to feel like the top dog of Jacksonville. Nobody can mess with me. However, when you're beefing with another big dog like Young and Ace, what goes around comes around too. And that takes us to July 23rd, 2018. It's a hot Friday afternoon in Jacksonville, and Fulio and his boys are outside
Because I want to. Is it a problem now, bro?
block party. Over 500 people are there with music, food, games, and overall good vibes. Given the large advertisement and size of the party, Fulio and KTA are not worried about rivals. This is our city, we're up on the score, and we ain't worried. Well, on the other hand, ATK are not thrilled when they see the flyer. They see this as an opportunity to slide. Regardless, as the day turns into the night, the block party goes by with no incidents. Then the night comes around, the kids go inside, and it's just Fulio, his homies, and some girls outside.
They drinking, twerking, and having the time of their lives.
But little do they know, the aces are on their way to disturb the peace. At 9:50, a car full of aces approaches the party. They drive around a couple times looking for Fulio, but he's nowhere to be found. They're frustrated that they can't find him, so now they resort to the second option. At 10 p.m., they spot Fulio's best friend named Trey D walking by himself down the street. So that's when an ATK member hops out of the passenger seat and walks right up to Trey D. Yet another devastating loss for Fulio. Not only was Trey D a close childhood friend, but he was also known to be Fulio's enforcer. In fact, Fulio even referred to him as 8, allegedly due to the 8 bodies he caught. Yeah, Trey D was a major enforcer for Fulio. The loss of Trey D truly hurt Fulio to the point where he dedicated a song to him called Dirk's Story. In the song, he talks about how they started off hating each other as kids, but then became brothers over the years. And more importantly, he wages revenge on his behalf. But thankfully, over the next few months, the beef would be calm and there would be no revenge. However, this wasn't a sign of peace, but rather that both sides were becoming harder to find. With Fulio and Ace's careers on the rise, both of them were pretty much always out of the hood. And more importantly, whenever they'd go out of town, their entire crews would come with them, meaning that the Jacksonville streets were calm for whatever those days were. Still though, during this period, the beef was forcing people in Jacksonville to choose a side. You're either with the Aces or with Fulio. For some people, it was an easy choice, but for others who had ties on both sides, it was a pretty big dilemma. And that introduces us to a very important person named Willie Boscoon Anderson. What up, man? Willie is Fulio's older cousin and somebody he looked up to a lot as a kid. He was a well-known hustler, ladies' man, and feared street dude in Jacksonville. Well, unfortunately, this kind of lifestyle got Willie a 10-year prison sentence in 2013. While he was away, Fulio deeply missed his cousin as he would constantly post about Free Willie. Somehow these wishes would come true as Willie was released after 5.5 years. Yay, Willie is home. The family well, it's more complicated than what you think. Unfortunately, Willie has bloodlines on both sides of the deadly beef. On one side, Fulio is his cousin, but on the other side, Queso is actually his half-brother, the son of his dad. So as you would imagine, this put Willie in a major predicament. I don't want to cut off my cousin and his family, but I also don't want to beef with my blood brother. So naturally, when Willie comes home, he tries to be cool with both sides. I don't want any beef, and I have nothing to do with what you guys got going on. So in the meantime, he tries his best to stay out of the beef, stay out of prison, and pursue his rap career. He releases songs like How I'm Comin' and How We Comin', which both absolutely slap. While the songs and his reputation give him a slight buzz in Jacksonville, enough to headline a club called Paradise Gentlemen's Club. And that takes us to January 15th, 2019. It's a big day for Willie as he's set to perform at a club for the very first time. So naturally, he, his father, and his brother Queso head to the club together in a Chevy Tahoe. They arrive to the club, Willie performs, and overall it's a great night. So at 2 in the morning, they exit out of the club truly feeling good about themselves. Big Bro just came home from prison and he's already doing well for himself. It's a cause for a celebration. Well, after the club, they all hop in the Chevy Tahoe and they head their way home. As they're driving up Interstate 95, they have no idea that people have been following them since the club parking lot. Well, at 2:15, they pull off the interstate and are forced to stop at a red light. This is when 3 cars surround them and roll down their windows. The car is absolutely torched and everyone inside is hit. After being rushed to the hospital, thankfully, Queso and his father survive. But Willie, sadly, he doesn't make it. As a father, taking your son to his first performance, and for this to happen, I can't even imagine.
The man who died was Robinson's 25-year-old son, Willie Addison, who was an aspiring rapper.
His dad, Abdul Robinson, was driving.
I guess 2 or 3 cars pulled up on the side of us, shot inside our car over 100 times, killed my son in the front seat, shot my son in the back, in the head 3 times, shot in the back myself twice.
It's a story hard to imagine, but Robinson says it was reality and he had to act fast.
Now, here's the important question. Is Fulio evil enough to call a hit on his own cousin and uncle just to get to Queso? Or at least, if you knew that your cousin and uncle were in the car, why would you allow this to happen? Well, in case you had any doubts, Fulio would respond in the most evil way possible. He posts on his story, "Now I'm smoking on my cousin Willie," crossing family lines over street beef, and now saying that you're smoking your own cousin who you used to look up to. This dude Fulio is absolutely heartless, and from what we know, this tragic incident completely split up Fulio's family for good. Well, as you would expect, this tragedy would not come without consequence. Understandably, Queso was hurt beyond comprehension, and now he wants revenge on Fulio in any way possible. And that takes us to February 25th, 2019. It's a typical Monday afternoon in Fulio's mom's house, and Fulio and his little homie are hanging out on the couch. This would be a 16-year-old Hilltop resident named Adrian Garner, also known as Lil Baby. Well, Baby is restless and he doesn't want to be inside doing nothing. However, Fulio, being more grown and knowing everything that's going on, he advises Baby to not go outside.
Don't walk nowhere, bro. Sit here with me until it's time for you to go wherever you need to go. You know what I'm saying? Wait till the sun go down or something.
Baby, being young and reckless, does not want to hear this.
Man, I ain't worried about none of that, man. I'm yada, 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 man. I don't even care, man. I'm in the hood all day. I'm hanging, you know what I'm saying? He like, man, I'm finna go to Hilltop. That's where I'm from. I'm like, look, bro, I love you, bro. Be safe, you know?
So against Fulio's wishes, Baby heads off by himself to the Hilltop Projects. At 3 o'clock, he arrives to the front gate and hops out of his Uber. Coincidentally, as he's walking towards the gate, Queso happens to be spinning the block. Unfortunately, he spots Baby, recognizes him as Fulio's friend, and decides to run down. So while Baby is gingerly walking and not paying attention, Queso is walking up right behind him. Sadly, he has no mercy.
I'm gonna say 20 to 25 minutes later, I get a call. A shooting just happened in Hilltop. I don't know. I'm not even thinking about him at first. I'm like, damn, because it's regular. Like, shootings always happen. Like, I'm like, damn. Somebody else called me. You good? Why everybody say you dead, big bro? My big brother called me. Shit, where you at? They said you dead in Hilltop. Yeah. I go on Facebook. A little boy just got killed in Hilltop, like 16. Burgundy shirt. Oh, God. I just hang up the phone.
His mom and his grandmother begged for the violence on Jacksonville streets to stop.
Y'all get together and y'all right. Please, please, put me going down. I'm gonna rock this city until they get justice for my baby. Until everybody involved are arrested, I am gonna shake Duval County.
That was like one of the worst losses, like, cause it's like I just had told him, like, do not, like, it's hot outside, bro.
Yet another gut-wrenching loss for Fulio, especially for it to happen like this. And to make matters worse, while he's grieving, the rivals give him a taste of his own medicine. Shortly after the incident, Queso would put out a song clowning Baby and admits to doing it. You know me, bitch, I'm Queso, I smoked Baby. Then he says he was 16 and I took his soul right up off the streets. This dude Queso is cold just like Fulio, but kind of understandably, after being targeted and losing his brother Willie, he really wanted revenge. You took my brother Willie, so I'm gonna take your little homie Baby. In addition, after allegedly doing this, he continues to troll online.
Yeah.
We smoking on Baby. You already know.
Oh, you smoke that baby, that's nationwide, and
Smoke Baby to the face.
I'm finna trademark baby. He finna be on like Google and shit. It's gonna be like, it's gonna be like 16-year-old got shot up. Hey, say hello. I'm gonna put that boy ass on Google. Smoking on the baby. I heard they let out 60. We don't show no pity. We don't show no pity.
Of course, Fulio is more than pissed, and as you would expect, he sends a blitz. I want Queso gone. Now, after allegedly knocking down Baby, Queso makes the smart decision to stay out of Jacksonville. In particular, he goes on tour with Young and Ace, which removes them from the city for quite some time. Here we are in the small country city of Waycross, Georgia, located about an hour north of Jacksonville. Here, Queso and other ATK members are ducking low and staying away from the beef. In particular, they're barbecuing and listening to music at a hotel pool, not thinking that anyone will find them. But somehow, after posting videos on their stories, the rivals deduced exactly where they are. So while Queso and his boys are sitting back enjoying their day, the KTA hitters are on their way. After taking the hour-and-a-half drive, the hitters arrive at the hotel at 6:30. They instantly hop out of their truck and run to the pool area. That's where they see their rivals. They start blowing, and Queso and his boys are blowing back. It's an ugly scene, and sadly, it claims the life of an ATK member named Rollo.
And so far, there have been no suspects arrested, according to the Waycross Police Department. However, they do believe that this stems from an ongoing conflict. A local artist, Kenyatta Bullard, whose stage name is Young and Ace, survived a shooting that ended with 3 of his friends dead in 2018. Now he is tied to another deadly shooting that happened Sunday morning at the Hampton Inn in Waycross, Georgia. Chief of Waycross Police Anthony Tanner says there is more than one shooter.
Any further. Bullard, whose stage name is Young and Ace, was scheduled to perform in Waycross on Saturday. It's unclear if he was staying at the hotel or just visiting. Now, on social media, a guest who was staying in the hotel recorded video of the aftermath of the shooting, but we are still waiting to get permission from him to show you that video.
Men don't do basic hydration. We need super hydration. Old Spice Super Hydration. Vitamin booster for 24/7 healthier looking skin.
Babe, are you using all the Old Spice?
Oops. Sorry. We're all out.
The lesson here is that whenever you do something to Fulio, he's gonna get back and it doesn't matter where you are. But of course, this is a game of back and forth, and just a couple months later, Fulio would lose yet another friend. On May 7th, a close friend of Fulio named T. Shots would lose his life while leaving a corner store in West Jacksonville. Now it's body for body on both sides, and the murder rate in Jacksonville is skyrocketing. And in addition to the bodies dropping, both sides keep clowning and self-snitching online. Like as the beef progresses,
Isaac, what's up?
disrespectful, even to the point where Fulio clowns devastating situations that he literally had nothing to do with. And that takes us to the mysterious case of Young and Ace's homie Corbin. Essentially, Corbin is a teenager who went to a job interview in the morning, and later that night he was reported missing. Well, when he went missing, a lot of people assumed that Fulio and KTA had something to do with this. But in reality, it was a completely different situation that had nothing to do with beef. Well, sadly, in July of 2019, Corbin's body parts would be found in a forest near Jacksonville. And as it turns out, he was set up by an ex-girlfriend to be robbed, and then they took him out to the forest and unalived him. The saddest part about it is that Corbin was a good kid and had literally nothing to do with the streets.
Corbin Johnson's remains were found in a wooded area of northwest Jacksonville. Still, no arrests have been made. News for Jax reporter Alicia Hatcher spoke with Johnson's mother. Alicia, Johnson's family, they're still hoping for justice.
The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says foul play was suspected because of the way the body was positioned.
And I really couldn't identify him. I can tell you every day I went to work, you know, I would have my days, I would cry, come back to my desk, work. I seen him on a picture, and I wish I hadn't, because I can't unsee that.
His mom, Melissa Jackson, will never forget the day his remains were found.
They identify him from, you know, he hurt his arm, and it was the chip that was in his arm from his surgery. I was told that, you know, when you're out there that long, really none of you is left.
The grueling and devastating situation is no laughing matter, and just because he hung out with the Aces does not mean that you should disrespect his name. But in typical evil Fulio fashion, he uses this as an opportunity to clown. At first, he goes on Instagram Live and brags about how he could never be kidnapped.
Corbin really did got kidnapped. Like, he got abducted. Do you know how much sense that makes? Because when you grown, you get abducted. You don't get kidnapped. Like, type shit. That man got abducted. Real shit. Like, that's my worst feeling. Kidnapped me. I swear to God, bro. That man got kidnapped, bro. Lost and found type. Like, I swear to God, on the news it said that man bones got found. Like, that man bones got found. Just bones. I swear to God.
On top of this, he even puts Corbin in a song by saying Corbin got kidnapped, they found his bones, he was robbed. Then in another song, he says Corbin got kidnapped, how the grown man goes missing. I understand that beef is beef, but at what point do morals come into play when we're dealing with the innocent? Before all this, Florida boys were known for being laid-back players, but now this new evil drill rap
It's really ridiculous.
You can almost say that Fulio single-handedly turned things cold-hearted in his city, and of course, all the dissing of Corbin would come with consequences. January 5th, 2020. It's an early Wednesday morning, and an ATK member named Butta receives some vital information. Specifically, a girl that he messes with informs him that she knows the location of a very close friend of Fulio. She tells him that Fulio's right-hand man named Lil Buck will be at a temp agency later in the morning. Obviously, Butta is excited about the drop, and he instantly hits up his fellow stepper named Queso. Queso is also excited when he receives the news, and he quickly heads over to Butta's. With no strategy or second thoughts, the duo now get ready to slide. They put on masks, remove their license plate, grab blowers, and head out to the location. At 7 in the morning, they park in front of the temp agency, waiting for Lil Buck to arrive. From what they know, he's going there to train for a job and to change his life around. But regardless of him not being a factor in the beef, they still want to stamp him just because of his association with Fulio. So for hours, they patiently wait for Lil Buck to show up at the office. Hours and hours go by, and there's no sightings of Lil Buck. At this point, Queso figures that they're being set up, or that simply Lil Buck isn't coming. So together, they decide to give up, and they head down the street towards a shopping center. They're hungry, so they pull into the parking lot looking for restaurants. Then as Butta is driving around, he randomly notices Lil Buck on his left. So quickly, Butta makes a U-turn and follows Lil Buck through the parking lot. He then tells Queso to mask up and get ready. I'm gonna pull right alongside him. Well, Buck has no idea that he's being followed, so he parks his car and gingerly gets out. And that's when allegedly Queso hops out of the car and does the business. Queso allegedly hops back in the car and they speed off quickly. After they exit the parking lot, they figure they're in the clear. But little do they know, an off-duty police officer saw the entire thing. So as they're speeding down Merrill Road, Butta notices the cop car behind him and he begins to panic. This is when Queso panics as well and comes up with the worst idea possible. He turns to Butta and yells, "Bust a U-turn, I'm gonna spray up the cop car." Butta disagrees and responds, "No the hell you not, watch, I'm about to get us gone." He continues to smash on the gas and he busts a sharp right into a neighborhood. He loses control and smacks right into a pole. Thankfully, Butta and Queso are both okay, and they hop out of the car and run into somebody's backyard. With no better plan, Queso decides to smash somebody's sliding door and jumps inside the house. Butta follows him and says, "Yo, what are you doing?" At this exact moment, the homeowner runs downstairs and sees them in the living room. That's when they whip out on him and tell him to bring them to the closet. So he takes them upstairs, expecting to be robbed for his jewelry. Instead, though, they simply ask him for a change of clothes, which he obviously gives up. So they put on collared shirts and khakis, hoping that once they go outside, the police won't recognize them. Obviously, this is but it ends up working out. Somehow, when Queso and Butta look outside, there's no police in the vicinity. So they instantly call a friend to come pick them up, and 5 minutes later, an orange Charger is there. They casually walk outside, hop in, and the Scat Pack is off in the distance. Somehow they completely duck police, at least for the meantime. Regardless though, what they just did is the definition of crashing out. All because you hate Fulio, you're willing to crash out on his mans and risk your life in prison. That's crazy. Either way, Butta and Queso assume that they're in the clear and they're excited that they eliminated yet another of Fulio's friends. Even though they can't seem to get to Fulio, they're dedicated to eliminate anything associated with him. And sadly, this includes women too. On May 8th, 2020, Fulio's girlfriend would be shot while driving on a Jacksonville interstate. Thankfully, though, she would be okay after being rushed to the hospital. Well, in typical Fulio fashion, he and his girl would go on live showing that she's okay.
Y'all thought I was dead. Y'all, she ain't underscore just yet. Y'all ain't underscore just yet, that boy.
Regardless, though, Queso and Young and Ace would take to the internet to clown the situation.
Oh, don't look right. You can cheat on her ass,
At this point, we've entered demon territory. Like, there's no respect or morals on either side. Like, you can't get to Fulio, so you're gonna target his innocent girlfriend? Well, as we know, Fulio was built for this nonsense, and KTA would sadly return the favor. Like, oh, you're gonna target my girlfriend who has nothing to do with the beef? Watch this. I'm gonna target somebody on your side who has nothing to do with it as well. June 25th, 2020. It's a regular Thursday afternoon in East Jacksonville, and a 40-year-old man named Busta is grabbing food at the Jack's Market. Busta is like a childhood uncle to Young and Ace, but he has nothing to do with his politics or anything in the streets. Well, little does he know, because of his connection to Young and Ace, he's now a target. At 5:15, he casually walks out of the store, and right there, a gray Sonata stops in its tracks. Then, three masked men hop out of the car and run down on Busta. This was yet another heartless retaliation on somebody who had nothing to do with anything. Because he was like an OG figure in the community, a lot of people questioned why this happened and who was responsible. While rumors started to hit the streets that not only did Fulio call for this, but he was the one who actually did it himself.
Yeah, Julio is with the business, man.
Granted, though, the rumors are all over Reddit and Twitter, so you kind of have to take that for what it is. But regardless of if he's actually responsible or not, his lyrics would not help his defense. Directly after the incident, Fulio would drop a song called CCG, which stands for Closed Casket Gang. In the song, he disses Busta by saying Chi-Chi was 40 years old running from bullets like a teen. Busta, he ain't have no face. So not only does he allegedly eliminate a 40-year-old OG, but then he disses him disrespectfully in a song. All of this to get under Young and Ace's skin. Sadly, though, this would only be the beginning of Fulio's evilness. So now let's shift our focus to the other side, as Young and Ace keeps getting bigger and bigger and his pockets are getting fatter as well. This means he has more funds to amplify the beef. When your pockets are fat, you can get spanked. Boy, like at the beginning of the beef, as long as you stayed out of Jacksonville, you were pretty much safe. But now with money involved, anyone can cash in on your head. For whatever reason, Fulio doesn't realize this, and after the elimination of Busta, he flies out to Houston to lay low. In fact, he books a 2-week Airbnb where he can record music, party, and you know about the girls in Houston. While during his extended trip, he also goes to a block party with a famous local rapper. And that takes us to July 6, 2020. While at the block party, Fulio makes the dumb decision to go live and show his location.
Hold on. That mood.
Yeah, guys. So what?
Hey man, we live, gang. Yeah, man. Boo. Oh yeah, we're in the middle of test. Big bro, what you say, gang? In the middle of the yeah, Florida in this bitch.
He goes on live to show what he's got going on, not knowing that there's people on his trail. Well, eventually, police arrive and the block party clears out by 8 p.m., with Fulio still standing outside. As he's standing outside by himself, a black Nissan with tinted windows begins creeping up the street. Because he's out of town, he doesn't really think anything of it until the car gets right up on him and rolls down their window. They begin dumping at Fulio. He quickly runs behind a nearby car and begins dumping back. At this point, the car pulls off and Fulio notices that he's hit. So his friends quickly rush to him, throw him in the car, and take him to the hospital. He was grazed in the head, but thankfully he ends up surviving. For most people like me, this would be a terrifying incident. But for Fulio, he doesn't seem to care and he goes on live during the whole process.
And kill me on Kendrick. You fucking stupid.
You had a situation in Houston where you actually got grazed in the head?
Grazed in the neck. They put like some little, I forgot to put on, they were like,
Parents of children who play Roblox. If your child was sexually exploited, abused, or pressured to share explicit content by someone they met on Roblox, you may qualify to file a claim. Estimated compensation varies depending on what happened and how it affected your child. For cases involving exposure to sexual materials, estimated compensation may range from $25,000 to $50,000. If your child was coerced into sending explicit content and is receiving ongoing mental health treatment, estimated compensation may range from $50,000 to $300,000. And in more serious cases, such as physical abuse, attempted rape, sexual assault, or trafficking, estimated compensation may range from $300,000 to over $1 million. Filing a claim is free, confidential, and takes just 2 to 3 minutes.
like like you good. Like you ain't got no entry wound or nothing. You just got grazed by the glass and a little bullet fragment. You good.
Julio was finally met with some consequences for everything he did. Kind of. Either way, the big question now is who did this, especially because it happened in Houston. Well, Young and Ace's right-hand man and fellow rapper named Fast Money Goon would admit to it in a song. I was lurking on his page and caught him lacking in Houston. We let off shots, then he went live, and I was like, we didn't get him. So yeah, pretty much Young and Ace's homie Fast Money Goon admits to doing this to Julio. So now if Julio ever needed more motivation for revenge, this incident would do it. You target me when I'm out of town enjoying myself, and then you put my name in a song? That's not gonna fly. And as you would expect, bodies would start to drop in the streets of Jacksonville. In fact, following this incident, 3 ATK members would lose their lives back to back to back. First, on September 9th, an ATK member and close friend of Young and Ace would lose his life while leaving the Regency Mall. Then, on February 21st, 2 more ATK members would lose their lives. These would be notable ATK members and close friends of Young and Ace named B5 and Michi. On the night of February 21st, they went to a Lil Durk concert, enjoyed their time, and simply went back to sit in their car. At 1 in the morning, while they're sitting in their car after the concert, a man simply walks up to the window. And just like that, 3 aces are gone in retaliation for what they did to Julio in Houston. At this point, the bodies are piling up tremendously on both sides, and it would be hard to imagine that the beef gets even worse. And on top of this, with ATK taking so many losses, you'd almost imagine that they'd throw the white flag. Okay, maybe that's too far, but at least you'd think that they'd want the beef to kind of calm down. But nope, at this very time, Young and Ace does the complete opposite as he releases one of the most disrespectful diss songs in rap history. On March 28th, 2021, Young and Ace drops
Ooh, I smoke.
The entire song is dedicated to making fun of Julio's dead friends and explaining how they lost their lives. From Lil Bibby, Trey D, Techie, Zion Brown, and plenty more. The mainstream industry had never seen anything like this before, name-dropping dead ops and trolling how they died. That's just blasphemous to everyone. So for weeks, the song blew up everywhere, and pretty much everyone was trolling Julio. The song pretty much had all of the rap world assuming that Julio was some sort of victim, but we know that that's definitely not true. As we know, Julio already has a short temper, so can you imagine how he received this song? Basically, the whole country was singing along to disses to those who were closest to him. Can't even imagine. So instead of playing the sympathy role, he decides to fire back in the most disrespectful way possible. Now that all of his dead family and friends were broadcasted to the world, he decides to do the same to Young and Ace, but even in a worse way. In his response called When I See You, he records the music video at the graveside of Young and Ace's brother. On top of this, he holds up a poster showing the deaths of 2, 3, 4, and Quan, and basically makes fun of how they died. The entire song is flat out evil, and the rap world was literally shocked. And this is when the world is introduced to the character of Julio. The world understands that he's a cold demon who has no limits on his disrespect. Because of the shock value, it elevates his fame, and of course, it pads his pockets. At this point, he has enough money to leave Jacksonville for good and to take the closest people with him. But when you're this knee-deep in a beef, there's somewhat of a pride of staying in your city. Like, I ain't running from no one. So even with all this fame and fortune, Julio stays his butt in the trenches of Jacksonville. Although he tries his best to stay low-key and to move with caution, staying in Jacksonville definitely catches up with him. November 8th, 2021. It's a Monday evening and Julio's headed to a studio session in Jacksonville's Riverside District. Because it's located in an upscale area, he figures he can go there completely unnoticed. So at 8 p.m. he arrives, parks his car in a residential area, and walks down to the studio. As he's in there recording bangers, his homies are recording selfie videos clearly showing him at the studio. Of course, they post them on their Instagram stories, and subsequently the rivals notice. Aw, shit. Somehow they deduce exactly which studio he's at, and they head there instantly. Obviously, they know that Julio's with a bunch of hitters, so ambushing the studio is not a smart idea. So when they arrive at 11:30, they simply wait down the street and observe what's going on. They're unsure if they'll be able to do anything, but their hope is that Julio somehow walks outside by himself. They wait in their car for 20 minutes, and then out of nowhere, they notice Julio walking out of the studio. Oh my goodness, there he is walking by himself up the street. They wait for him to make it up Ernest Street away from their sight. This way, if they turn on their car, he won't be alerted. Then they head around the block and head down Ernest Street, hoping to face him head on. When they bend the corner, they notice he's right there opening his car door. So instantly, two of the members hop out of the car, and Julio hears them coming. They start blowing at him from down the street, and Julio starts blowing back. 100 shots go off in under 10 seconds, and Julio runs out of ammo.
I'm walking to I get to the driver's side of the door. I open the door. As soon as I get to sit down a little bit,
Now at Whataburger, you can get the new Big Ranch Wrap for $3, 5 premium Whata chicken bites for $4, or a bacon cheese Whataburger Junior for $5. Add fries and a drink for a little more. Now that's a Whata deal at Whataburger. Download the app.
Mornings can feel pretty stacked. Stacked in your favor. It starts with a fresh baked bagel, stacked with the freshest ingredients. And that's how you breakfast at Einstein Bros Bagels.
Now we're baking.
so I lean back, shoot back. I shoot the whole clip and shit.
So at this point, while the ops are still thundering, he runs behind some cars for coverage. Julio figures that they got the best of him, but thankfully the ops are Ben Simmons in the clutch.
I run back to the front of the house. It was a white dude came outside. He like, what happened to you? Good? I ain't even looking at my leg up, but I'm like, yeah. He like, man, your leg's bleeding. He like, you want me to take you to the hospital?
Julio, for whatever reason, in the moment he assumes that if he goes to the hospital, it might look suspicious. So instead, he simply wraps up his leg and waits for police to arrive.
I basically got to see the situation under control, you know what I'm saying? So the police come, ask me what happened, what gun I shot with. I give them the gun, and they put me in the back of the police car till the crime scene was cleared, and they let me go.
This could have easily been the end of Julio. On some level, he kind of knew that. To say the least, it certainly shook him up and is the reason he temporarily would leave Jacksonville.
I ain't gonna count. I was hearing them gunshots for like a week, just thinking about that shit. Like, every time I go to sleep, I just think about that shit. Like, gunshot. I'm like, damn, could have been dead, bro. That shit was traumatizing.
So now the demon rapper coincidentally heads for LA to focus on music and stay out of the streets.
It's the place to be.
Still though, he's able to focus on his music career, stay out of trouble, and of course, elevate his music career. He's able to maintain this for nearly 2 years, and during this time, the beef in Jacksonville has completely quieted down. However, because of his silly pride and his itch to be in the trenches, he eventually returns to Jacksonville. And of course, as soon as he touches down, he's right back to causing chaos in the streets. That takes us to October 6, 2023. The king is finally home and he's already making demands in the streets. It's been way too quiet in Jacksonville and Julio wants to see some action on the rivals. So allegedly, he spontaneously decides to put $20,000 on a rival's head. In particular, this would be Queso's blood cousin named Antonio Tilly. Why he targets him specifically? Well, from what the rumors say, Tilly did some serious damage on Julio's side. So quickly, the word gets around and some hitters step up to the plate. One of which will be a man named Jaquan Mills, who definitely needs the money and also realizes that cashing in will not be easy. Basically, Tilly is not the type of guy you're just going to catch in traffic. You better put a plan together. So quickly, Jaquan comes up with a plan which involves his girlfriend Diamond Harris. So basically, Diamond slides in Tilly's DMs talking spicy.
Bet I want to. I want to see your daddy.
Of course, Tilly falls for the bait and they set up a plan to meet up. He's excited to pull up at her house tonight, thinking he's about to have the time of his life. So at 6:30 p.m., he hops in an Uber headed for North Jacksonville. Tilly's in the Uber with nothing but "You Feel Me" on his mind. At 6:55, the Uber arrives at the location on Kylan Drive, and Tilly hops out without paying attention to his surroundings. The second he steps out of the Uber, he's absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. Sadly, not only did Tilly lose his life, but so did the innocent Uber driver.
A call for the community to rally around the family of an Uber driver who was shot and killed last month.
The Justice Coalition held a news conference today asking for help and resources for the family of Bryant Brunn.
A family forced to start over.
I can't even tell you how this has affected her family.
Yet more senseless violence in the streets of Jacksonville, allegedly at the hands of Fulio. While once word gets around of the passing of Tilly, the rivals desperately want Fulio's head. Later this same night, Fulio is out and about in the streets of Jacksonville by himself like nothing just happened. In fact, to make matters worse, at 10:30 p.m., he decides to head to the rivals' hood. In particular, he goes to their local store, I guess to show them that he's not worried about anything. This is my city, I'm back, and I call the shots. So at 11 p.m., he parks his car outside of the rivals' Magic Market and simply walks inside. So while he's shopping for a vape, he's actually recognized by somebody who's affiliated with the other side. And from there, an argument sparks. The man questions him like, "What are you doing on this side of town?" Fulio's like, "Man, get the hell out of my face, man." For whatever reason, Fulio isn't intimidated and he buys his vape and gets back in his car. Now from here, he plans on joyriding around the city for the rest of the night. So he pulls out of the market, heads up the road, pulls a right on 18th Street. And as soon as he turns the corner, his light flashes in front of him. Two men with choppers start blowing down his way. Fulio tries his best to speed away, but sadly he smacks into a car. The assassins figure that they finally got him, so they
When I wake up in last place, I need the power of Old Spice. This place smells good.
Come on.
so they gladly speed away. This time, Fulio is gravely injured, but thankfully an ambulance arrives. He's quickly rushed to the hospital where he undergoes an extensive surgery. While he's in surgery, his mom breaks the news from his Instagram page. Keep Fulio in your prayers. He was shot last night in his hating city. I mean, he is the hater in the city. But either way, everyone hopes he survives. Well, the next morning, the doctors present the news that Fulio did in fact make it. This was the closest call yet, and it just goes to show how quickly the streets of Jacksonville respond. You got our homie hit at 7 o'clock, by 11, you were hit up yourself. Well, because of this, Fulio leaves Jacksonville not only to recover and to duck the rivals, but also to duck investigations. The loss of Tilly and the Uber driver was a major deal in the city, and he figured that it was only a matter of time. 13 days later, October 19th, 2023.
A Jacksonville double murder earlier this month was part of a $20,000 gang hit, according to an arrest warrant. We just received these mugshots of Juquan Mills and Diamond Harris, arrested last week in the murder of a local teenager and a man who was driving him for Uber. Community advocates say this shows how out of control gang violence is here in our city. News4 Jax reporter Vic Micolucci tells us detectives believe the victims were set up.
A high-dollar hit. Jacksonville detectives believe this October 6th double murder in Moncrief was not random. Instead, it was a gang-related contract killing worth $20,000. The dollar figure that's attached to that is fairly high. We found this information in the arrest reports for 22-year-old Jaquan Mills and his girlfriend, 23-year-old Diamond Harris. Detectives believe Harris lured one of the victims, 19-year-old Antonio Tilly Jr., who thought he was meeting her for a date. Investigators accuse Mills of killing Tilly instead, collecting half of the bounty on his head. Police say they've identified another suspect involved in the murder, but they're still trying to track that person down. Tilly's Uber driver was caught up in the violence and also killed, shot in the car he was driving to make a living.
After finding the DMs between Diamond and Tilly, police were able to completely open up the case. From there, it pretty much gave them everything they need to know, except for who called the shot, who put the $20,000 on Tilly's head. Both Jaquan and Diamond discussed the $20,000 over text, but they never mentioned Fulio's name. They pretty much just called him the boss. Now, of course, if Jaquan and Diamond are smart, they can use this as leverage to get less time and snitch on Fulio. Now, of course, you'd assume that Fulio would be nervous about this, but instead, he's only focused on getting revenge for who lit up his car. And once he finds out who did it, he allegedly put $60,000 on their head. Ooh-wee, things are getting serious. This time, the alleged bounty is on an ATK associate named Tiger Sparks. On January 4th, 2024, somebody cashes in on the check. Sadly, while posted up on Odessa Street in East Jacksonville, Tiger Sparks is sparked. At this point, Fulio's feeling untouchable. Every time you guys try to get me, I send something back and eliminate your homies. I mean, honestly, the fact that he survived this long is pretty remarkable, especially given that he just roams around the city of Jacksonville. He's basically like that cockroach at Granny's house that just roams around, and every time you try to
Kill it, it just goes under the couch or the fridge or something, you know?
After surviving all of these beefs and shootings and everything, Fulio somehow approaches his 26th birthday. I mean, just think about it. From surviving his early childhood in Hilltop to what happened to his dad to what happened in high school and then all the beef. It's pretty much insane that he made it this far. So given all that, his 26th birthday is a major cause for celebration, and Fulio knows this. So of course, he wants to do his 26th birthday weekend in the biggest way possible. Now, of course, celebrating in Jacksonville would be way too dangerous, even though that would be something that Fulio would do. But instead, he decides to play it smart and party 3 hours away in the city of Tampa. Still though, as we know, 3 hours away may be way too close for comfort. And to make matters worse, weeks ahead of his birthday, he decides to post flyers promoting the events. Aw, hell. Of course, this tells the rivals weeks ahead of time exactly where he'll be on his birthday. Definitely not a safe move. But at this point, Fulio just doesn't care. He's showing out and basically saying, if you want to come get me, come get me. And that takes us to his birthday weekend, June 21st, 2024. It's a Saturday afternoon and Fulio is hosting a pool party at an Airbnb with his family and friends. The plan is for everyone to stay at the Airbnb for the
I built a Wix website overnight, and it helped launch my career as a sketch artist. There's beauty in everything, and being there firsthand is, of course, the best way to experience it. As a reportage illustrator, my art unfolds in real time. So my website needs to showcase the kinetic energy behind this craft. I draw fast, and my site keeps up.
QuickMD connects patients with a doctor online for opioid use disorder. Start medication-assisted treatment backed by science. No judgment, no stigma, and no insurance is required. Take control and talk to a doctor today at quick.md.
For the whole weekend, not just use it for a pool party. However, by 7 o'clock, a neighbor calls 911. They're all kicked out of the party, and Fulio no longer has access to the Airbnb. So now he puts everything in his car and gets ready for his first club appearance of the night. At 9:30, he and his boys head out to the Teasers nightclub for the first appearance. He arrives to the club, it's packed, it's late, he performs, and most importantly, he gets paid. Getting a big check on your birthday, there's nothing better than that. But little does Fulio know, while he's in the club, a couple of hitters are sitting in the parking lot waiting to cash in on his head. So now let me introduce you to the hitters who are ready to stamp Fulio. First, we have Alicia Andrews and Isaiah Chance, associates of Young and Ace's ATK. Together, these two decided to steal a car in Jacksonville and drive it down to Tampa. That way, the license plates do not go back to their name. On top of this, the plan is that after they catch Fulio lacking after the club, they'll get rid of the car and stay at an Airbnb that's not registered to either of their names. Basically, these two are professionals and they're dedicated to cash in on Fulio's head and definitely not get caught for it. But unfortunately, they're not the only ATK members who want to cash in as well. Let me introduce you to these guys. These would be Sean Gaithright and brothers Davion and Rashad Murphy. Not much is known about the brothers, but we do know that Sean Gaithright was a suburban kid just a couple years ago and was into all kinds of nerdy stuff. Why this matters? Well, you'll see. Instead of getting a Stolo like the others, Sean decides to borrow his mom's black Chevy. On top of this, he doesn't even change the license plate. This guy does not know what he's doing. Well, while Alicia and Isaiah are waiting outside the club, Sean and his boys are on their way from Jacksonville. Well, it's now 10:30 and Sean and the Murphys arrive in Tampa. As soon as they touch down, they get in contact with Isaiah and Alicia and they tell them that they're ready to So Alicia tells them that they're waiting outside the club, but that there's too many police to make a move. She then tells Sean to go to her Airbnb and to wait there until it's time to slide. It's now 12:15 and Fulio finally leaves the first club headed to a second appearance. So at a distance, the two follow him to Truth 18. They wait for him and his crew to enter the club, and now they start to scout the scene. This time, they don't spot any police, and they see that the security is very minimal. So instantly, they hit up Sean and say, "Pull up ASAP." So Sean and the Murphys arrive in 20 minutes, all masked up and ready to bust. It's now 1 in the morning, and Sean, Isaiah, and the Murphys are masked up, waiting for Julio to hop out of the club. Then at 1:15, he finally walks outside with his crew. However, he moves to the car very quickly and pulls off quick. The hitters were way too slow, and Julio was able to duck his way out of there fast. Still though, even though they missed this opportunity, they're destined to follow Julio to wherever he's going. So at a distance, they trail his car, and this is looking like a perfect opportunity. Then at 2 in the morning, Julio pulls into the Holiday Inn in North Tampa. He quickly parks in the front of the hotel while his homie Omerta 5 stays in the passenger seat. He then walks into the lobby to check in, but then they inform him that they accidentally double booked his room. He already got kicked out of the Airbnb earlier, and now the hotel that he paid for is telling him that they accidentally double booked his room. He's now really frustrated. So after they give him his refund, he has no choice but to walk back to his car. So he hops in the car and pulls out his phones with plans of calling hotels to look for availability. But little does he know the ATK hitters are parked right across from him and they're ready to bounce out. So allegedly, Sean, Isaiah, and the two Murphys walk up to the car. They pull up on Fulio's side of the car, and before he can react, they absolutely unleash.
A crime scene taking up this whole parking lot behind me. This is a Holiday Inn right across the street from USF. Here, 4 people were shot, and so were 2 cars. Police say they are also now a part of the investigation. A birthday celebration that took a turn for the worst. Now cars filled with bullet holes are at the center of an investigation to find out why famous rapper Julio Fulio, who just turned 26, was shot dead early this morning.
At this point, it's part of the investigation, but it seems that they might have been coming here to the hotel to get a room.
After a social media post from Julio Fulio said he and his friends were kicked out of an Airbnb, they found themselves at this Holiday Inn where hotel guests like Jeremiah Claypool had to be escorted to and from their rooms post gunshots.
I only heard one. It woke me up, but apparently there was more than that.
Police say they got the call at 4:40 this morning. Julio Fulio, whose real name is Charles Jones, was confirmed dead at the scene, while 3 other shooting victims were taken to the hospital. No one has been arrested in connection to this shooting.
Oh my goodness, they finally got the boogeyman of Jacksonville. There's no way. At the same time that everyone was shocked at the news, they also pretty much knew who was responsible. But of course, if there were any doubts, these would be completely put to rest the next day. Just a day after Fulio's death, Young and Ace would release a song called Game Over, alluding to the death of Fulio. Or at least we assume. After all the losses, the beef, and the disses, you really can't even shame Young and Ace for doing what he did. And when I say that, I mean the diss song, not eliminating Fulio, of course. So I guess now Young and Ace feels like he won the beef. The top dog is gone, and that's it, right? I guess in theory, the game really is over, and he won the beef because Fulio is gone, but the people around Fulio certainly do not feel that way. Even though they cut the head off the snake, it's still lethal. Directly after the devastating loss of Fulio, his KTA associates would get right to sliding. In fact, they would start spinning the city looking for anyone associated with Young and Ace or ATK. And just a week after the incident, they would locate a very close friend of Ace. On the night of June 28th, a friend named Fizzle would get torched while leaving his apartment in Orange Park. Basically, this was the message that the beef isn't over and we're going to keep sliding for Fulio. So if you thought that the situation would get better and Jacksonville would be safe, think again. Well, now we circle back to the loss of Fulio. Alicia and Isaiah were convinced that they would never be caught because they executed perfectly. They used a stolen car from Jacksonville, masked up, had no fingerprints, and then returned to Jacksonville where they got rid of the car and all of the evidence. There's basically no way of getting caught unless somebody snitches on them. Well, little did they know Sean would be their complete downfall. Not only did he use his mom's car, but then after the incident, he drove straight to his aunt's house in Tampa. And there he was seen on camera outside her driveway wiping down the car for evidence, with no mask on. So basically, it would take Tampa police 10 days to track Sean's car from the crime scene to his aunt's house, where then they used the Ring camera to see his face. So just like that, Sean Gaithright is arrested and taken in for interrogation. And here is where he absolutely freaks. As soon as the police leave him alone in the interrogation room, he tries his best to escape. With his hands tied behind his back, he hops on the table and tries to bust through the ceiling with his head. Obviously, the officers see this on camera and they probably laugh. But of course, they then rush into the room and they tie him down to the chair. At this point, Sean's life is truly flashing in front of his eyes. What did I just do? Just a few years ago, I was meeting Mr. Beast and obsessed with video games, and now I'm about to face life in prison. Well, because he used his aunt's car and was caught on camera, he himself is definitely going to go to prison for life. But for the others, well, we'll see. Because of the shell casings and the footage of multiple cars pulling off, police are certain that there were multiple shooters. However, because the others did such a good job of covering their tracks, finding out who they are may be really difficult. But if you're thinking what I'm thinking, Sean Gaithright may be the easiest person in the world to crack. Now, I don't want to put that jacket on his name, but a month after he was arrested, so was everyone else.
Now to an update. Another arrest in the death of a rap artist known as Julio Fulio. Police in Jacksonville arresting 30-year-old Rashad Murphy after an overnight standoff at an apartment complex. They say Murphy surrendered just after midnight. Tampa police had been searching for him and 27-year-old Davion Murphy. Right now, Davion is still at large on the run. On Monday, police announcing 3 arrests in the case. And on June 23rd, Julio came to Tampa for his birthday. He shared his location on social media to more than 1 million followers.
Detectives believe that the ATK and the 1200 worked together to target Jones as part of an ongoing feud in Jacksonville.
The level of planning and coordination between these 5 defendants was truly alarming. It is clear that they all had one purpose in coming to Tampa, and that was to kill.
Don't move!
Over the weekend, deputies in Jacksonville arrested 3 of the 5 suspects wanted for the rapper's death.
It's good to see that there's been wonderful progress made on justice on the homicide, the murder involving the late rapper Julio Fulio.
We don't yet know if Sean Gaithright snitched, but what we do know is that they're all cooked.
Put them in the gumbo pot, cook that motherfucker in it.
Well, I guess we can all say that Fulio definitely had one of the craziest lives in American history. And I truly don't say that in a good way, because all this destruction and death really amounted to nothing. So to anyone out there who's in the streets or contemplating it, just know that it never ends well. Like for anyone. It's much, much better to be called lame or soft than to end up like Fulio. So if you're surrounded by people or a community that don't truly want to see you win, then do your best to get away from them and focus on your success. Trust me, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Now, if my words don't mean anything to you, then listen to Fulio's mom. She truly wants all this to stop.
If Young and Ace was watching this right now, what would you tell him?
I mean, I really don't have anything to tell him, but it'll come a point in time where it needs to stop. Because there's only 2 places it's going to, just keep it real, you're either going to be in prison for the rest of your life, or you're going to be dead. That's just point blank period. And the thing is, we don't have to entertain these people, these fans, to make yourself look cool or anything like that. And I tell my son the same thing. There's 3 ways out: jail, death, or just doing better. Just cut the bull and just do better.
Well, I guess that has to conclude the video. So if you guys made it this far, thank you. And I got a lot of things coming. So please leave a like and subscribe.
Nonprofits are among the most targeted and least protected organizations in the world today. To help close this gap, Microsoft has developed the security program for nonprofits, so you can protect your data, your devices, and your people, and stay focused on your mission. The program brings together 5 core offerings designed to strengthen your security posture end to end. Starting with a free security assessment to help you build a security strategy and roadmap tailored to your organization. Learn more at aka.ms/security program for nonprofits.
When you hold the magic sword, what do you say?
By the power of Grayskull.
Go on.
has returned. I am the devil, but I mean to be a god.
What am I supposed to do?
You are he who restored peace to Eternia.
Skeletor took my family, and he destroyed our world. I'm gonna fight for it.
Rambi. William. And you, Fisto. Mr. Allen. It's Alan, dude.
Hey, put your neck away. Let me show you what really bad looks like.
The time for talk is over.
You can help me with this? Whoa.
It's quite heavy, so if you
Oh,
could just.
oh my God, yeah.
Hmm.